Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Mariancho, and it's Sunday, July 20th, 7:45 p.m. Time for another live stream. Time for some more drafts on Underdog. Let's go. All right, here we are. Typical website where we draft. Maybe one day in the coming weeks we will be moving to other websites just to check the ADP. Once you get basically to the beginning of August, then the other websites are starting to look more legit. So we'll do some comparing and contrasting probably next week and the week after. But for now, we're sticking with Underdog. Still, I think the most accurate ADP that is developing. You know, things are changing on a daily basis. But there's a chance I do a Best Ball Mania next, not for the first one, but I think for the first one, definitely I will do a warm up. And maybe we'll just stick in the puppy. This thing is close to filling, actually. We're already at 86%, 225,000 entries available, 195 almost, 195K nearing completion. So maybe 1 or 2 more days. I don't know how much longer this thing is going to last. So that's probably the prerogative, getting as many of these as possible. And the grand prize is pretty nice, 100K to first, and not bad for second, 75K. Even top 10 gets 7,000, but obviously, in general, the odds of advancing are 16% in the first round, then 10% in weeks 15 and 16, and then a 375 seat final, hoping for the most points scored. But one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers. That's the key point on the roster. The three wide receivers in a half PPR still pushes up the position, and we got to focus on that. One flex, one tight end, and then 10 bench spots. If you've never done one of these, I just thought I'd give you a refresher on the rules if you would like to join. So I am ready to go. We're doing the 20-second pick clock, and I'm going to hop in. There's about a 5-6 second delay, so go ahead, hit the button right now, and I will join in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 5 spots left. If you would like to hop in, there are 3 spots now, and hopefully we won't have to wait very long to get going. But Philly Mike OG, welcome into the chat. Question of the day: can you name 5 quarterbacks who won 2+ Super Bowls before the 2000s? Ooh, okay. John Elway. We got John Elway for sure. Let's say Joe Montana. Steve Young. I think Steve Young won a couple. Terry Bradshaw. Did I already say Terry Bradshaw? But Terry Bradshaw. I have picked 2. So is that 5? Is that 5 different ones? Hope you're keeping track. I'm having a good time. Let me remind you what channel this is. It is go time indeed, Albie. That's for sure. I'm at 4. Okay. We are on the clock though. I will take Bijan. I will take Bijan. I think I've officially convinced myself. Let's go with Bijan at running back 1 this year instead of Saquon. Just 5 years younger, not the competition that Gibbs has, and not the major injury risk of CMC the year before. Okay, that's our first round pick. Billy is giving me Jim Plunkett, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman. Aikman was on the tip of my tongue. I thought I said Aikman already, but I was like, okay, the broadcaster on Fox with Joe Buck, that's one. Damn it. I missed Troy Aikman. Of course. Starback is a little too old for me to at least have watched I'm sure when I was a toddler, I was still watching Eggman at some point on the TV. I'm sure he crossed paths, but I didn't really start paying attention to the NFL until like the early Patriots dynasty, like 2000, 2001, 2004. Those several years were like the steady introduction to NFL in my viewing diet. But Himothy, who would you rather keep in a 10-man PPR league? Neighbors round 5 or Bucky round 13? Damn, that's such a good price on Bucky. Whew. Round 13 versus round 5. I mean, I think I'd rather take the round 13, but in full PPR, 10 teams, I feel like Neighbors is going to be perhaps a staple of your lineup for like, the better part of a decade. You might have like 6 straight years where you're keeping Neighbors. I don't know if I feel that confident about a day 3 pick in Bucky Irving, like as hopeful as I am about him, I did rank him above Genty before I knew about Tristan Wirfs going down. I think that happened within a similar time frame of each other. And I don't know if I'd rather have Bucky than Genty. And now I definitely wouldn't rather have Genty than Neighbors. I know that's for sure. I'd be taking Neighbors over Genty personally. So I think I'd be super tempted to just take Neighbors in a 10-man PPR league. Elite wide receivers a bit more coveted. And I still think you can get Bucky in round 2. Like in round 1, if you take Bucky, what are the chances you have a high enough draft pick to get Neighbors as well? You know, I'll take the guy that is going in round 1 of your PPR draft for sure as my round 1 technically keeper. Like you're swapping out a round 5 pick for a round 2 selection. That's how it operates in my mind. Hope that makes sense. I'd go Neighbors. I'm not gonna ramble too much. I'd go Neighbors. Hope that helps. Jamie says bonjour. Technically, it's bonsoir, but I appreciate the attempt at technically a native tongue of mine. Did learn French at like the age of 3. That's when I started speaking some French in the house. We are on the clock. Not dying to go T Higgins at the moment, but Taylor does make it back. Let's go elite RB to start, and let's take Jonathan Taylor. I don't think I'll go overboard with a third running back, but having Bijan and Taylor feels very, very safe. And then I'm going to trust my rankings. I'm going to go Devontae Adams above T. Higgins. Have them very close together. It's not a huge difference, but I do have a Week 17 matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and LA Rams available for me in terms of correlation that I don't have with T. Higgins. So give me Devontae Adams in this scenario. But, there's something I wanted to try. I wanted to try something in terms of this setup here. Is it this? I think it's this. Okay. Because they have you can open it in a separate tab. And what if I just left it like this? You know what I'm saying? And when it's my pick, I'll pull up the player pool. Let me know what you guys think of this setup. I feel like this is actually not bad. You get to see the full board and like my roster written out. I'm going to try to get used to this. And then maybe we push this over here. Move this right there. Feel like that looks pretty clean. You know? Let me adjust. All right. Name all the quarterbacks Tom Brady lost to in the Super Bowl. Eli Manning and Nick Foles. What draft are we doing? We are doing the puppy 2. We're in the puppy at the moment. For the Ravens and Bucks. Oof. You got me. Dilfer. Yes. Okay, likes the setup. Bryce Long says, I have 58% of Travis Hunter and counting. Definitely nerve-wracking, but I'm trying to turn $5 into a million, so the upside can be there. Or I guess 100,000. Good luck, man. I think he's going a little steep. But there have been times when I've reached on him as well. Okay. On the clock in a few seconds here. And Rashee Rice falls all the way this far. I think I'm going to pass on him. I'm not dying to take Rashee Rice at this price. But I will say James Cook is super tempting here at 47. I'm going to take James Cook. I've rolled with this like elite trio of running backs before in the past, and I never hate my teams. They're always still very, very tolerable. Was hoping one of Devontae Smith and George Pickens would make it back. I'm still going to pass on Rashee Rice. Going to let him fall. Not going to be the one to determine where he should be going. But round 5 does feel a little high. I think I'd still rather just grab Chris Godwin, or I think he should be going in the same range as Jordan Addison and Chris Godwin. I think he has much more in common with them than he does George Pickens and Calvin Ridley and Devontae Smith. And so I'm going to pass on Ridley, even though on Rashee Rice, excuse me, even though there's a chance that is not the best move. Anyways, let's get back to our previous setup. There we go. All right, so the roster is a 0 quarterback, 3 running back, 2 wide receiver, no tight end so far type of build. And our 3 running backs are Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, and James Cook, along with Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley. Bryce is asking in a redraft league. Hold on. Let me move this down here. Let's put this right here. In a redraft league, where would you take Rashee Rice? In a similar range of Chris Godwin and Jordan Addison. Knowing we're going to be missing games, I don't think I can justify not lumping him in with those 2 players who are going back to back. We know Addison is expected for like a 3-game suspension, most likely. And then Godwin, we're hopeful, misses like 6 weeks. He played 7 last year, so that would be basically a full calendar year of him returning in week 7. My expectation is I would probably take Rashee Rice right between Jordan Addison and Chris Godwin. And they're going 36 and 37 off the board at the position. All right. who are my favorite mid to late round quarterbacks this year? I really think Justin Herbert is going underpriced. If his quarterback 17 ADP is consistent across platforms, I think that's a really, really safe player to target, who's also not going to be missing time. Like, the thing about Justin Herbert, he does start every game, and if he gets banged up, he usually plays through it regardless. It's pretty rare that Herbert comes off the field before the game is over. So I think he's a really good target. I think Drake May is a good target. We're about to be on the clock, though. And the team after me does not have enough running backs to feel comfortable with, but I need receiver badly. So I will take Jordan Addison. Even with the suspension risk, I think when he's in the lineup, he has tremendous upside, arguably higher than these other players, and I'm happy with him. But I'm not going to pair him with Chris Godwin. I think given who I have, that's way too risky, and for that reason, I am going to take Ricky Pearsall instead. I mean, he's kind of risky in all honesty as well, but I think he'll be active in time, and I think he will also compensate for some of the lack of production from Brandon Ayuk early in the season. And I think correlation, I think we might get some of the best games out of Ricky Pearsall when Jordan Addison is off the field. At least I'm hopeful for that. I can't guarantee it, but that is why I'm comfortable with some of the risk that Pearsall still offers. I think it kind of counterbalances enough some of the Jordan Addison timeline. So that's the team so far. Bijan, Taylor, James Cook, and then our receivers, Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, and Ricky Pearsall. I will probably need 8 receivers on this team. Jamie says, I'm in a slow draft. Who do you like best between Trey Harris, Shaheed, Bateman, or Burden? I would rather go Trey Harris or Luther Burden among those 4. I think they're in a tier above Shaheed and Bateman. And while there is plenty of risk with all of them, I think I would rather go Trey Harris. I think that would be my preference. But if I had Caleb Williams already, that would be a Burden team. I would definitely be taking Luther Burden if I had Caleb Williams. If I had Lamar, I would be grabbing Rashad Bateman. But I think the player I would take the least likely of all of them is Shaheed, because I have no intention of stacking up Tyler Shuck, and I'm not really like dying to be drafting Saints in the first place. Bryce says, in redraft, would you take a guy like Bo Nix in the 9th round or somebody like May and Dak in the 12th? I'd probably target Drake May. I think Drake May has more upside than Bo Nix as a runner of the football, and I think Dak has minimal rushing value. So ideally, I'd be grabbing Drake May and Bo Nix. I think if I wait till the 9th round and I acquire Bo Nix, I think I'm trying to get another top 20 quarterback on my bench quickly. I would be targeting Bo Nix and Drake May in that scenario. 6-point passing touchdown. That's kind of relevant. Kind of negates the rushing touchdown upside, but I guess I'd be a little more comfortable with Dak. Not enough to change my strategy. I'd still probably pass on Dak in that scenario. Terry has a redraft trade question. I'm gonna take a look at this after our pick. I don't want to put my entire thought process into a trade request right now, but on the clock, I think I'm gonna go Jaden Higgins at this spot in the draft, and then I'll let the team after me do what they want. Pittman is okay, but not my like. I'm not super crazy about him. Meanwhile, last year we were drafting all 3 Texans receivers in the top 3 rounds, and Stephon Diggs did pay off on investment at that type of price. So now we're getting a massive discount on the presumptive number 2 receiver. We've seen that 3 does not work. Tank Dell was terrible in that scenario, but we did see that the number 2 receiver still really viable with CJ Stroud. And I believe that's Jaden Higgins. I think Jaden Higgins has the highest upside of all the receivers left on the board. And I think because we've never seen it, we might be getting a massive discount off of production we knew to be the case last season in Houston. I would much rather take a gamble that we're getting CJ Stroud's number 2 receiver than Daniel Jones' number 1 receiver. Because even that I'm not convinced is the case. And neither does the ADP. The ADP says it's going to be Josh Downs. And last year, Josh Downs did overtake Pittman a pretty decent amount on a per-game basis. Josh Downs was actually on the same level as DK Metcalf and Tyreek Hill on a points-per-game basis last year. I'm not exaggerating. Tyreek Hill really underperformed. Metcalf was a little bit of a letdown, and Josh Downs was actually a lot more consistent than he usually gets credit for. Especially by me. I've not really mentioned some of the value of Josh Downs because I haven't looked into it like crazy up until a few days ago, I'll be honest. We are doing good, PPR Tyler. Doing good. Terry says, May, Jettas, AJ Brown, Bucky, Connor, Laporta, Terry with Pollard, Etienne, Diggs, Dak, Pickens, Ford, Najee on the bench. Feels pretty good. May and Dak at QB. Especially if it's that 6. Oh no, that's Bryce's league. Yeah, I mean, receivers pretty loaded. I like the running back depth. I'm not super fond of ETN in all honesty, but I think you can work with that. Ford, though, is really interesting. Pickens and Dak on the bench. That's pretty dicey there. That's some high upside plays if you can get it right. But Pickens, I think at worst is going to be like, Brandon Cooks 2 years ago, where even if he only catches like four passes a game, one of them is most of the time going to be a touchdown. There's some high upside there. Jamie loves watching PPR Tyler streams. When do you stream PPR Tyler? What time of day? I'll look out for you. Terry, yes, you had a trade request. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Hold on. Let me get this in frame. There we go. Okay, so your question is, give AJ Brown, Bucky, Najee, and Diggs, and get Chase, Aaron Jones, Swift, and Reed. I assume this is Jamar Chase, because if it's Chase Brown, I don't know if I would do this trade. But okay, Aaron Jones, Swift, and Reed, and Chase, or get JSN, Aaron Jones, Swift, Reed, give AJ Brown, Connor, and Diggs. Let me make my pick. Um, think I'm going to take JJ McCarthy here and let the chips fall for our second pick. I have Addison. I've got a reason to do that. And I think on this team, I'm going to need 3 quarterbacks in the first place. We've got 3 elite running backs. Don't think I need one right now. Although it's tempting to take Tajay with this next pick. And then I think the direction I'd like to go in is probably tight end here, because I think we're about to hit a cliff in terms of like elite upside of the position. So Tajay goes. That was the only running back I was considering. So that does do me a favor. We could grab Njoku and pray that the Browns offense is good, but I'm willing to take a gamble on the rookie tight end first round draft capital of Tyler Warren, and maybe Shane Steichen, really does make this thing work. Maybe we get, I don't know, maybe not a Brock Bowers season from Tyler Warren, but perhaps a Dalton Kincaid season from 2 years ago, where there was like an 8-week stretch where he was giving you like at least 7.5 points per game. I'm hopeful that the Colts knew what they were doing, and he will be heavily involved. But okay, back to the trade question. I think I'd much rather do the Ja'Marr Chase side of this deal than the JSN side of this deal. I'd be comfortable getting rid of Najee and opening up, either a flexible roster spot on the bench, or, just having a little bit up of an upgrade at running back. Like, to have Swift in this deal as well, I think is pretty solid. You are giving up Bucky, but you're getting Chase in return. I think Reed is way more valuable than Diggs. And then AJ Brown, solid, definitely not bad, but like the difference between him and Ja'Marr Chase is definitely worth it in my view. So I think I'd rather take the Chase deal in all of this. Give me Chase, Aaron Jones, Swift, and Reed, assuming it is Ja'Marr Chase. If it's Chase Brown, fuck that. Stay how it was. That's how I feel. Just shooting corner threes. In a 6 passing touchdown league, does that make quarterbacks like Lamar and Allen less valuable, or should they still be going mid to late third, early fourth? I would not say that they're less valuable, because they also throw passes too. Like Lamar threw 41 last year. That's pretty elite. That's hard to replicate by anyone. So I wouldn't say they lose value. I would just say that the gap between them and the quarterbacks going, at a bigger discount is probably smaller. I would still be drafting the elite quarterbacks where they're going, if not maybe higher, because they can give you more points as well. I think overall the entire quarterback position gets an upgrade, but that upgrade is kind of graded on a curve. And so the players going in like rounds 9, 10, 11 maybe move up like 2 rounds, and then the quarterbacks that were already going at the top maybe only move up like half a round. And Terry says that trade was Ja'Marr Chase. Yeah, I'll take that side of the deal. Give me the best player overall in that deal. I think I'm going to grab an investment in this backfield I have, and like let Taylor and James Cook figure out the RB2 and flex distribution. But I'm just locking in all of the Falcons' touches at running back in my RB1 slot. If there's ever a time when Bijan misses any games, just lock in him into my lineup. I'll do that. And then I think Stafford is a player to consider here when we have Adams. That's who I'll take. I have pick 2. I'm basically at the turn. So I have to gamble that the Puka Nacua team passes twice on Stafford for him to come back around. in general, I don't expect that to happen. And as a refresher, that Puka Nacua team, I guess, does have Burrow and Bo Nix already. They probably are not going to take him, but you never know. I knew I was going to take a third quarterback, and we are heavily invested in Devontae Adams. So if that works out, quarterback's got to work out. Stafford's our guy in the 13th round. I'm not dying to take anyone else in this range. So here's a reminder of the team. We have a 3-4-5-1 build so far, and our quarterback position is now done. We have Brock Purdy, J.J. McCarthy, and Matthew Stafford as our trio. At running back, we are really in a good position here with Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, and Tyler Algier. I only need one more running back to close this team out. And then at wide receiver, we've got 5 so far. We have Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, Ricky Pearsall, and Jaden Higgins, hoping that Higgins has the rookie season that is on pace with what Stephon Diggs offered last year. Diggs was in the top 25 on a per-game basis when healthy last season for C.J. Stroud. I don't know if Higgins is as good as Stephon Diggs, but feels like the front runner to be on the field running in those 2 wide receiver sets by far more than anyone. And at tight end, we did wind up with rookie Tyler Warren in, what was it, round 12 there? Maybe around 11? Yeah, our round 11 pick was Tyler Warren. So mainly going to focus on receiver and tight end the rest of the way. We have 5 picks left, I believe. So 1 running back, 3 receivers. I'll go with 8, and 1 more tight end. That's going to be the strategy the rest of the way. 5 more rounds. "24-hour stream PPR, Tyler? Damn. That's too much for me, bro. Am I drafting the dip on Najee and best ball? I'm gonna let it settle for a little while. I think it could get really, really low, and I was a bit overweight entering the news of the fireworks incident. So I had him at like 10.5%. I would like that to at least get back to at least 8% before I dip back into the Najee train. Yeah. At least I have more Hampton than I do Najee. I thought that backfield was valuable regardless. But Jalen Wright here, I think, is too tempting to pass up on. I think Jalen Wright has tremendous contingent value, and there is a chance he's a bit more involved on a week-to-week basis than we are expecting. But the Dolphins' backfield, high upside, and he has tremendous speed as well. Don't forget about Jalen Wright. I was very high on him last year. Before the draft, mainly. Oh, we're back on the clock already? Whoops. In that case, I will take the slight discount on Pat Bryant. I'm comfortable with that. Pat Bryant's one of the few receivers I am willing to gamble on in this range and feel like somewhat optimistic. Like, even though Jalen McMillan was good last year, there's just too many players in Tampa now. Like, it was one thing if only Chris Godwin was returning, but with Egbuka also in the mix, yikes! I don't feel great, even when Godwin isn't available. So when Godwin returns, I think I'd rather have Kate Otten than Jalen McMillan. But we need a receiver, and Pat Bryant, I think, is a fine round 14, round 15 pick. I don't think you need Bo Nix to take Pat Bryant, but that means we're done at both quarterback and running back. So I'll flash this once again to let y'all know the full full spectrum. We got Brock Purdy, J.J. McCarthy, Matt Stafford at QB. And our stacks on that are Devontae Adams, Ricky Pearsall, and Jordan Addison. We do have some stacks that do correlate, thankfully. But at running back, we have Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook. We took 3 of them in the first 4 rounds, and I do not regret it. We also have Tyler Algier as just a locked-in investment into the Atlanta Falcons backfield. There might be some weeks where I actually get both of them relevant. Probably not more than like 1 or 2. Most likely. But if Bijan, who we're really committed to, ever goes down, we will be filling in at least the clear RB1 in Atlanta when that happens. Hopefully it doesn't. It's just there for insurance. And then Jalen Wright, I could see Devon Achane going down. He did have some injury risk we were really worried about last year. He missed a lot of time as a rookie. Not so much as a sophomore. But I feel really good with that 5 running back core. I'm not taking a 6th, that's for sure. And then receiver, we're rolling with Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, Ricky Pearsall, Jaden Higgins, Pat Bryant, and our tight end is Tyler Warren. I think we still need a tight end I feel comfortable with, but knowing I have Stafford and Kittle and TJ Hawkinson off the board, I think I'm probably going to wait for Terrence Ferguson. I think I'm probably just going to wait for him. We can take him like round 17 if we want. Jeremy asking what you drafting tonight. Right now we're drafting in the Puppy 2. Right now that's what we're drafting in. But we might do a Best Ball Mania. We have 18 viewers, only 7 likes. I think this new setup deserves a like. I think if you want a Best Ball Mania, you should also like the video. I think that would be a good idea. I might be biased, but I think that's what I would do if I wanted Best Ball Mania. Because I might do that. I might do that after this one. But right now it's just the puppy. Jamie's been taking a lot of right. I've been taking a lot more of him lately. Yeah, there's a lot of still good running backs on the board in this range. Some really high value handcuffs. But not taking quarterback. I mentioned I knew I was taking Terrence Ferguson in the 17th round, but the time is ticking, and I'm just going to take him here. That way I have some time to think about it on the next pick. I'm willing to risk it on Keenan Allen. I mean, I might be way off base and he just retires. But with Mike Williams retiring, they need someone to fill in as the 4th guy. Why not bring in Keenan Allen? I feel like Keenan Allen only kind of wants to play for the Chargers in the first place. He was too good last year and the year before for no one to be interested. So, best case scenario, he's an LA Charger. Even if he plays for someone else, I think he's still a valuable pick here. And, yeah, he comes back around, so it didn't matter what order we went with. I knew for a fact I was taking Terrence Ferguson with that. Somewhere around that turn, we take Ferguson at the end of the 16th round. Then Keenan Allen. So let's scroll through this entire draft. We had pick 2, just a full recap of how things went. We started double elite running back with Bijan and Jonathan Taylor. Then we go Devontae Adams because we have to pivot back to receiver at some point. And then we get James Cook to fall to us in a tier, I think, well above the rest. And while there is some holdout risk, in all honesty, it's more likely that the Bills call his bluff than, he's foolish enough to actually miss time. Hopefully that doesn't happen on this team, but I still like Ray Davis a lot, given that risk. But I'm willing to take the gamble that Cook is still elite, especially in best ball. But then we have to pivot back to receiver. We go Calvin Ridley, one of the safest picks in round 5, in my opinion. Don't mind reaching on him. Jordan Addison falls to 71, given the suspension risk. It might be a tough pick for me to come back from, but I think worth the upside. Addison was a top 20 receiver last year, and hopefully JJ McCarthy is legit. If he is, we're also committed to McCarthy in the 10th round. But we did take Ricky Pearsall so that we could set up a Brock Purdy selection, and hopefully if Brandon Ayuk is missing time, and who knows, maybe Juwan Jennings misses a lot of training camp, Pearsall should be back on the field. I think he'll be off the PUP list soon, and hopefully in the beginning of the season, he is healthy enough to play and fill in for Addison. But I also am taking a swing on Jaden Higgins. I think some really high upside. Last year we took both Diggs and Tank Dell in the round 2-3 turn, and Diggs did pay off pretty much exactly where we were taking him. Tank Dell did not. So that's the risk. We're getting a absolutely terrible selection that could be like Tank Dell last year, but a very different athletic profile. I think Jaden Higgins with a fully guaranteed contract, one of the first second round pick to set that precedent. I do think the Texans are heavily invested in him. I think he has league winning potential given the risk. I think it's worth it. But Brock Purdy, JJ McCarthy to get back to quarterback. We knew we were going to take 3. Then we got Tyler Warren at 122, not bad. Tyler Algier for the Bijan Insurance. Stafford for the Adams stack. Jalen Wright at a value, one of the last like strong handcuffs I think you can trust. And then Pat Bryant at a value as well. I'm willing to gamble on his upside. Terrence Ferguson, because I was almost out of time. And then Keenan Allen to get back to receiver. We are going receiver with our final pick once again. But given all of the weird shit going on with the Niners receivers, let's go DeMarcus Robinson. They brought him in for a reason. Maybe it's just to fuck with Sean McVay and take him away from the Rams, but I think they're going to need him. I really do. Especially given I'm actually like very invested in Ricky Pearsall's success on this team. I think grabbing DeMarcus Robinson is wise. We got the Purdy stack. Robinson also doesn't go drafted too often. So if he does work out, we have a more unique roster in that sense. And I know for a fact Ayuk is missing time. Pearsall currently on the PUP list might miss time. That would put him in line to be the wide receiver 2 behind Juwan Jennings and George Kittle at tight end. So technically 4th in terms of targets, because you know CMC will get more as well, but could play a lot of snaps at some point. I think DeMarcus Robinson, especially when you have Purdy and you need receiver, is a clutch pick in round 18. I am going to stand by that selection for weeks. I've taken him before. I'll take him again. Fantasy Dog likes it. Fantasy Dog likes it. Just auto-drafted Shuck. That's brutal. At least you have Shaheed. Am I taking Keenan Allen at all? Yes, we did take Keenan in hopes that he plays for the Chargers, but in hopes that he really just plays at all. I think as long as he signs anywhere, he'll be a good return on investment. He's fallen so late, I don't see any risk with it. Like, all of the receivers you take here could be zeros, could never crack your lineup. I think Keenan has the potential not just to crack your lineup, but like finish in the top 45 receivers overall. You know, like could actually wind up being worth a top 100 pick if things go perfectly right for him. But how many likes are we at? How many likes do we have? 14. Appreciate y'all for upping that like counter. And as a thank you, I wanted to do a Best Ball Mania in the first place, but thank you for the likes. Thank you. If you're new, if you're excited for this Best Ball Mania team we're about to draft, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But right before we hop in, let's just do a final rundown of the team. A 3-5-8-2 build. I like it, given we went so heavy at running back early. We got Brock Purdy, JJ McCarthy, Matthew Stafford. A team I think needs 3 to feel comfortable. And then Bijan, Taylor, James Cook, Algier, and Jalen Wright. Feel very confident with that. Wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Ridley, Addison, Pearsall, Higgins, Pat Bryant, Keenan Allen, and DeMarcus Robinson. I think a good enough floor combination with guys like DeMarcus and Jaden Higgins. and Calvin Ridley especially, paired with the upside of guys like Addison, Pearsall, and Devontae Adams, and perhaps even Keenan Allen. The tight end, hopefully we get the rookie explosion that we need. That's really the crux of this team. Can these rookie tight ends pay off? Tyler Warren, Terrence Ferguson, I think have that upside to merit a decent bet. So yeah, I like the team. Let's draft another one, and we will be hopping into a Best Ball Mania. So let me get that in order. BBM 6 will be incoming. The odds of advancement are much more slim than any other tournament on Underdog. If you make the final, which is 16% chance, says most likely you will not, then we have less than a 10% chance. You have to be first out of a 13-team pod to advance out of week 15. Then first out of a 16-team pod. That's pretty difficult. Even if you have an elite team, you could finish second, and it means nothing. So keep that in mind. $25 buy-in if you're comfortable with these odds, and you do make the 539-seat final, you do get rewarded handsomely. The final contestants bank a guaranteed $3,750. That means if you max out this tournament, you get all of that back with one finals appearance, and then it goes up pretty decently from there. Like top 100 already at 10K, top 20, 70K, and then if you do finish in the top 7, you get 200,000. Third gets 500,000. Second place gets $1 million. First prize gets $2 million. This is the lottery ticket that I'm looking for. So shockingly, this tournament is less filled than I would expect. I feel like at this time in July, there'd be over 50% of these teams drafted. I'm sure this contest will fill. I'd be shocked if it didn't. But worth mentioning, still 60% of the entries still available with only like 5-6 weeks left on the clock. So I'm sure it's going to fill, but a bit less entrants at this point in time than I would have expected. But things are moving, things are changing. We got a chance, and I think I've talked about it enough. Let's hop in, shall we? So if you want to join me, hit that button right now. And I am on a minor delay. I'll hop in as well. And it should be synced up pretty close. There's 7 spots left, and this will be the last draft of the stream. So if you just want to spectate, of course, you're always welcome. If you want to join, we're down to 6 spots now, and hopefully we don't have to wait too long for it to get going. But that's it for the subscribe thing. Let's get back to the chat. I kind of ignored that for a little bit. Terry asking, half PPR, would you trade Christian McCaffrey to acquire Derrick Henry? No, I think I'd just stay how it is. If you want to panic on McCaffrey's health, go ahead, but to acquire a player at 31 years old, maybe not my favorite thing to do. I think I just stick with McCaffrey. I do have McCaffrey ranked higher. The overall ceiling, I think, is higher for McCaffrey than Henry. Even if Henry's floor is higher, I'll stick with McCaffrey. Last round pick for sure on Demarcus Robinson. Yeah, don't be taking him any higher than that. Usually goes undrafted. Hello, Shamrock. Welcome in. We got pick 1 just as you enter. We got pick 1. Jamie, have you done any of the big dog $500 drafts? No, I have not. I'm not putting down $500 on a draft. Don't have the pockets for that. I might be interested in splitting it with someone, but even then, finding the right person to do that, I'd rather just spend $250 on 10 Best Ball Manias. BBM is the big leagues. If you win this tournament, this is where most of the money is. But we get pick 1, so we know exactly where we're going. Don't have to question it. I will gladly take the Ja'Marr Chase ADP and the exposure in Best Ball Mania. Give me Ja'Marr Chase. But let's get that setup back how it was. And I think that'll do it. There we go. All right. I actually like this a lot. I like the this new way to do it. I have to flip through all the tabs. It's a little bit overstimulating on my end. I wish I had a second screen for the computer so I could put some of these on the other side. But I do not. So my screen is fucking cramped. Uh, I thought it was cramped already the way I used to do it. I think this looks a lot better, but shit. Anyways, uh, the only downside of getting the 101 is there's a long wait time, not just for your next pick, but every single time between rounds. You get 2 picks, thankfully, but I prefer to be one spot next to the bookend than the bookend itself. Have I seen the Badge Bros draft 16 league? I did. I did one of those on Thursday night, late night. We did one of the Badge Bros drafts. That one was fun, but like I was saying towards the end when I was evaluating like all the teams, like everyone's team looks loaded. Like there's only one team that you might think, okay, maybe they didn't play this the right way, but you're gonna like your team in general. I think some of it kind of boils down to picking the right super late round picks. Like, because there's a lot more players that go undrafted in those leagues that probably shouldn't, you know? Like, there's some really elite handcuff running backs that may not be drafted a lot of the time. And if you can be one of the, I don't know, maybe 30% of people that draft Ray Davis like I did, and Ray Davis does wind up being the league winner that you need, you know, you have a much higher chance of being that one team that does advance because it has a different combination than anyone else. And it might be someone else. It's probably not going to be Ray Davis. It could be, you know, Dylan Sampson or Jalen Wright. It could be Jarquez Hunter. But the lower you go on the list, the less likely they are to be drafted in those tournaments. And they still have the same level upside as they did in the 12-team formats. But you can just be more unique by being the only person that has them sometimes. So that's the only thing I think is worth mentioning in those. Like, be mindful of when the draft ends because you're so used to having twice as many players to pick from. You get to round 16 and you're like, oh, there's still 5 players I really want on this team. And then you realize, oh shit, I only have 2 picks left. Maybe I don't take players that everyone else is drafting just to be different. But Shamrock asking what happens in an underdog draft when someone drafts way outside of ADP. Someone in my draft took Adam Thielen in like the 3rd round. In general, it does nothing. I think if it's like an outlier type of situation, then nothing's going to happen. You just get to benefit from drafting with that type of person. But oh my God, I think I'm gonna be that person. That person that goes Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for the Joe Burrow stack. The question is, am I taking Josh Jacobs or Chase Brown? Damn it. I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs. That way, if I miss out on the Burrow stack, I'm not gonna be livid. But damn it. Damn it. I hate boxing myself into this corner because it feels justified, you know, but it's never unique. There's a lot of teams that do this, and like T. Higgins has way too much injury risk to really be worth this price. Granted, I do have him ranked essentially right here, but damn it. It's just too tempting to pass up when you have Jamar to also get T. Higgins. Yeah, I think just because a single pick went Adam Thielen in the 3rd round, I don't think your draft is going to be thrown out. Now, if the person is drafting like, you know, a bunch of completely undrafted players as well, like, you know, they take some of those guys off the board. Like no one's taking Tom Brady anymore. If the whole thing is like that, maybe. But in general, it's kind of about like multiple people kind of coordinating together. Um, it rarely happens. Like just because they take Adam Thielen in the third doesn't mean someone is cheating necessarily. But it is possible it could get thrown out. If it does, you just get your money back and you wasted your time. But you do get the money back if that's what they deem to be necessary. Yeah, it needs to be ludicrous for that thing to get canceled. Lots of picks from one person. They need to be really egregious. Like I don't know what the threshold is, but um did you hear about like what happened with Gilbert Arenas when he was drafting? Oh, hold on. This is how it should be. Sorry. Um, because Gilbert Arenas drafted like insane teams, teams that you would never take if you were not using an auto pick strategy with terrible rankings like he was. And he maxed out Best Ball Mania with these like atrocious teams, and it seems like none of them are getting thrown out. He started the draft with like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels like every single time. So his first four picks are like all quarterbacks, unless somehow like Bowers, you know, is there. And then he followed that up with like four straight tight ends because he also had tight ends ranked way higher than anybody else. And then only until like round 9, when the maxes start changing, then he started like pivoting to running back and wide receiver. And they didn't throw those out, even how insane they are. Um, I don't really know how they come to that conclusion, but I think odds are you're fine. They made the puppy 2 slows only. Is that true? Did I get in one of the last 20-second pick clock on the puppies? They might just have a big backlog of slows, and they might be pausing it temporarily to get those kind of back up to speed. But if the rest of the puppy is already like reserved by a bunch of people maxing out the slow entries, that's crazy. I don't believe that. I think it'll come back. Um, Burrow goes pick 60. I'm gonna gamble on Burrow, and I think we're gonna go with Jameson Williams. Goff is often available at that side of the board. And then with Hurts off the board, I'm not going to take Devontae Smith. I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. Also opens this team up for Bo Nix if we miss out on Joe Burrow, but I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take the swing that Burrow falls from pick 60. He goes at the 5-6 turn. Wow, he goes pick 51 to the team with Chase Brown. But that team has 3 running backs in the first 4 picks. I'm happy to see them go elite quarterback. That kind of sets them back a little bit, at least at receiver. And again, I was kind of operating knowing it's more likely I don't get Burrow. So for him to go 51, let him go there. That's fine. For him, if he went 70, I'd be a bit more sad about it. But for him to go 51, I'm comfortable knowing what I gambled on. Because him going at 60 is not because he goes at 60. Him going at 60 means half the time he goes at 49, and then the other time half the time he goes at 72 or like 71. You know, half the time he's going in these top 3 picks, and sometimes it's in round 5, and sometimes it's in round 6. And then randomly somebody takes him earlier than that, so the average is on the last pick of round 5 rather than the first pick of round 6. But Burrow's ADP is kind of fake. It just means that he either goes in the 5th or the 6th. But the difference between pick 49 and 72 is pretty significant. Okay. we'll see what happens there. Can't wait until week 1. They throw them out if the draft guys that have low projected points really early. They throw them out if you draft guys that have low projected points really early. Okay, well, perhaps your draft gets thrown out then. Oof. Oh, we got the fantasy football show in this draft. Another YouTuber. Going with both Lions running backs as Jahmyr Gibbs, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, Hurts, Travis Hunter, Dave Montgomery. All right. Sweet. We get DeAndre Swift on this team. Very happy with that. And then I'm really tempted to go with Addison, but I have JMO. I kind of want to take Laporta. The price drop on Addison, though, is really tempting. And it will open the door for JJ McCarthy. And I've been at this turn before and gotten what I felt completely boxed out of quarterback in the past. So I'm going to open up as many options at that round 10, 11 turn as I can. Because if I get sniped on Goff when I'm set up with Laporta, that would be unfortunate. And seeing the team at 4 just go Jefferson and Laporta while they passed on Addison does kind of remind me that I am getting some matchup correlation here in Week 17 between the Lions and the Vikings. So I think in the next 4 picks, I'm taking at least 2 quarterbacks for sure. I might take 3, and those 3 that I'm targeting at this point are Bo Nix, Jared Goff, and JJ McCarthy. Pretty obvious based on my team. But in general, one of those between Goff and JJ is available at 120, 121, and then Bo Nix is usually there at 96, 97. But hopefully broadcasting that is not something I'm going to regret and somebody snipes me. But you can just look at your team. You don't have to. It's kind of obvious. Not going to worry about it. Josh saying, I don't understand why Bo Nix hasn't thrown more targets to Troy Franklin instead of Sutton. Because Troy Franklin wasn't ready to play. As a rookie, just because they had some college chemistry doesn't mean he was as good of a route runner as Sutton was. And, that trust is earned. Interesting debate on JMO and Sutton. I have them ranked pretty close to each other. We'll see. I've taken Troy Franklin maybe like once or twice on a Bo Nix team, but in general, I'm not drafting Troy Franklin. I'm a little more excited about Pat Bryant than Troy Franklin. Okay, dude. Okay. Municipal Stadium, the mistake by the lake. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think y'all are having a chat between yourselves. Yeah, we'll see if it's rigged or not. I doubt it though. It's really hard to rig everything. Okay. Ooh. Stage 9 Klinger goes with Bo Nix. Unstacked. Not even an RJ Harvey on that roster. Takes him from us. Hmm. We do have Kelsey in the thumbnail, and I think given the Rashee Rice news, I'm actually a lot more comfortable drafting Travis Kelsey. One of these two picks is going to be Travis Kelsey. I don't think I need Mahomes to take Kelsey. And then, damn, not ideal here. But yeah, just gonna give one more stacking option. And guaranteed at the next turn I draft 2 quarterbacks. The pick was Travis Kelsey and Jaden Higgins. So receiver, I'm going to be calling it at 7. There's no way I need more than 7 receivers with this squad of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, Cortland Sutton, Jordan Addison, Jaden Higgins. We got both Higgins on this team. Both of them. Josh Allen's usually a reliable option. Last year in the subscriber league, we had a team draft both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And I don't know if they were like hoping to be able to trade one of them. It didn't happen. They got stuck with them both the whole year. And they sneaked in as the 6th seed at 7-7 because Josh Allen led him to glory at the end of the year. Did finish in 3rd place. Did get a return on investment in the subscriber league as the 6th seed with a 500 record. Had all the tiebreakers out of all the 7-7 teams. Shout out Chris Dawkins. And shout out Jason Calhoun, who finished in 2nd place and did defeat Chris Dawkins in the semifinals. All right, so the quarterback run has officially begun, and we'll see what ends up coming back to us. I think I'll be okay, but you never know. We just saw 5 quarterbacks go off the board at once. Right after Andrews and Evan Ingram. We see Brock Purdy, 104, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. Jamie says, what about the Addison suspension? It's relevant, and you should kind of draft to kind of compensate maybe in the early weeks with some, maybe more veteran players perhaps, or even someone like Ricky Pearsall who might be filling in if Ayuk is unavailable, but that is assuming Pearsall is even available. So maybe Jawan Jennings, maybe someone to pair up with him. Either way, this tournament, all the money is made at the end of the season in the fantasy playoffs. And that's the ceiling we need to maximize, especially when I have this type of receiving core. I can really tolerate some risk with a guy like Addison missing the first 3 weeks of the season. That doesn't scare me at all. I'm looking for the most points possible at the end of the year. And I think where I got him, Addison is a tremendous value that could literally score like 30 plus points in a given week. He's a major deep threat in a good offense. Hopefully J.J. McCarthy can figure things out, but I trust Kevin O'Connell regardless. That's how I feel about it. And that's why I took Addison over Laporta. Higher upside. Goff goes to the team with Jefferson. Dak off the board, so I am locked in to some picks here. I think I have no other option. Even though running back is kind of a position of need right now, I don't think I can afford it. I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy and C.J. Stroud because QB is running out. So even with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, we pass on Joe Burrow. Kind of regret it. We get sniped on Jameson Williams. We got sniped on Bo Nix. But we are stacking up J.J. McCarthy and C.J. Stroud on this Best Ball Mania team. Not the best. And that's the only reason I like kind of regret passing on Burrow or Sutton or JMO, either of those receivers. Because being at the turn, you can really miss out on some of the quarterback values. You can really get burned and boxed out. And now I got to reach, Now I have no other choice but to take Stroud. Even if I have Justin Herbert ranked higher, I think Herbert's a better pick. It doesn't line up for my roster at all. My team does not really benefit in terms of like tremendous upside from taking Herbert. But if Higgins pops, we are pretty sure Nico's going to pop. Then maybe Stroud gets back to, the upside that made him a... Stroud was going top 5 last year. Are we quick to forget that Stroud was an elite option in the overall consensus ADP last season? Now, I probably wouldn't expect that to happen again, but it's possible. Got to be optimistic. That's why we take him. There's at least a shot for it. What rounds do you draft tight end? I draft defense and kicker last picks. I usually, if I'm not getting a good value on like a top 4 tight end, I usually try to punt tight end as late as possible. I have tier breaks, and I try to get the last guy in that tier. And if I miss out, so be it. I'll piece it together on the waiver wire if I have to. Tight end is a very streamable position. I don't put too much investment in it. And that's what led to me picking up Jonnu Smith off the waiver wire last year in like week 10. Either week 10 or week 11. And he led me to the promised land. Jonnu Smith, league winner. Undrafted. That's how you win your league at tight end. You get the guy that was undrafted that puts up top 4 numbers. Thoughts on Waddle in the 5th or 6th this year without Jonnu? Seth, I'm pretty comfortable with Waddle, especially if he's in the 6th. But I do still kind of feel like there are some safer options going later. Like, honestly, I think Jacoby Myers has a safer floor than Waddle. I would still be taking Waddle above Jacoby Myers, but kind of in general, my opinion on round 5 picks, other than like Ridley and some of those like clear wide receiver 1s in their offense, there's a lot of risk with some of those wide receiver 2s. They have a lot of upside that is probably worth it if the player above them goes down or traded, like Tyreek Hill, which is definitely a possibility. But I do see a lot of risk. Waddle was terrible last year, and sometimes I kind of shy away from taking him because I didn't like what I saw last season. But, oh boy, I have really boxed myself out of running back. I think I'm forced to go with a Dylan Sampson at this spot. We got Jacobs, DeAndre Swift. Let's get some points in with Dylan Sampson. I got sniped on Algier as well. Brutal. We got a good enough receiving core. I don't need to force it there. We already have Travis Kelce, and then none of my other receivers line up for stacks. So let's skip out on that. And let's take Austin Eckler. Just because I need points. Whew. I can't say I'm in love with this team the way it's gone the last 4 rounds. Like I could kind of talk myself into it early on. I think we kind of took too many receivers. I think that was the problem on this team. If I could swap Sutton and Joe Burrow, I think I probably would have done that. But we'll see who comes back around. We need another quarterback for sure. Can't love every team you draft. The bookend, not my favorite spot. Um, don't draft kickers or defense. That's all the fun, though. You need some of that variance sometimes. If you got the smoke, smoke it during drafts, of course. And I am back to having the smoke. Chandler says 18-man league, one quarterback full. Is 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex. Pick 1 and pick 2. We'll go Chase and Bijan. Who would you like to take at pick 3? Looks like it's a full PPR league. I think I might go CeeDee Lamb there. 18-man league. I mean, the odds are pretty slim. I actually might go like Christian McCaffrey, bro. In full PPR, McCaffrey's also a benefactor of all these wide receiver injuries in San Francisco. If he's healthy, McCaffrey could be catching like 6 passes a game with all these receiver injuries in San Francisco. I'm really tempted to go McCaffrey in an 18-team league just because, like, no one has the ceiling of McCaffrey, and I think kind of playing it safe there, what's the point? In an 18-team league, the risk is much higher. I'll just go, I think I might go McCaffrey at pick 3, man. Because it's full PPR. I'd also consider A-Chain in full PPR. But I don't trust Saquon to be the RB2 in full PPR. Saquon doesn't catch enough passes for that. Neither does Gibbs in his rotation. I mean, Gibbs is decent, but McCaffrey's going to catch way more receptions. Johnny Smith was fantastic last season. Good for you, man. Yeah, that's the best way to tackle tight end. Just get the one that's really good. Okay. We'll see what happens here, but I think I know what I'm going to do at quarterback. Jonnu off the board. Kind of a bummer. I would have liked Jonnu. I will take Geno, though. I think Geno's a value overall at quarterback, and even though he's not stacked up, I don't really care. And then I still need running backs. So let's just make a full bet against Quinshon Judkins, and let's take Jerome Ford. I think I could potentially get a higher upside tight end passing on Hunter Henry. Even if Hunter Henry has a good floor, I'm not like super dying to take him when this team is like absent running back points. We go Dylan Sampson, we'll take Jerome Ford as well. And even if he has a later ADP, I got to wait till pick 192 for my next spot. I have a justification to be reaching on players. But who knows? Maybe I only take 6 receivers on this team. But Dante Thornton off the board at 173. We're not going to get that stack. But that's unfortunate. Fantasy Football Show. Also a fan of Dante Thornton. All right. Let's... Chandler was thinking about smashing running back with your first two picks because after round 4 they will all be gone. Yeah, that's one big thing to factor in. 18 team league. There's only 32 starting running backs, so that doesn't even cover every team to have two if it's all balanced. So, yeah, I think getting ahead at running back early on with so much depth at receiver, even in a full PPR league, I think is worth it. And just having access to that elite level running back in terms of PPR upside, I think is a worthwhile gamble in that big of a format. Give me the Christian McCaffrey PPR investment at pick 3 in that scenario. And then, if you can get like TreVeyon Henderson or DeAndre Swift with your next pick, because I assume that's as far as the running back market will go, if not even further down the list. Those are good pass catchers. James Conner also a consideration, but the injury risk of CMC, maybe you're not dying to draft Conner. Seth asks, 12-man PPR league, I have the 10th pick. Is it crazy to go CMC then Genty in the first 2 rounds if I don't get Nico, Puka, or Neighbors? Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. I would like a more balanced, I think if you could get CMC and then even Drake London, I'd be pretty happy with that. But if the best player available is Genty in the second round, I think that's totally fine. Imagine if the Raiders make the playoffs this season with Pete Carroll. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be like an 8-9 win team. I don't think that's going to be enough for the playoffs, but who knows? Maybe an extra game or two break the right way and they do squeeze their way in. I think they're going to be like a 500 team. I need some tight end depth for sure on this team. Maybe take a shot. No, the tight end I have ranked highest is Terrence Ferguson. Let me just take him and then think about it. We did make an investment in Kansas City, hoping that some players move up the board. And Hollywood Brown is not a safe player to stay healthy at all. Let's gamble on Jalen Royals here. I kind of need a lot of luck with these picks in the first place. I don't think this team is like the best I've ever drafted. It's not bad, but I don't feel confident in the quarterbacks too much to be insanely optimistic about this team. And so, fuck it. Who knows? Maybe Worthy goes down. Maybe Jalen Royals really, really dominates. Let's have some hope. They do have a tremendously difficult schedule. The toughest division in the NFL. And a terrible rest differential. I did not know that. That's interesting. I still think they'll be competitive. Maybe not a 10-win team, but I think 7 is a very achievable number for them. I would bet on the over at 7. So this is how the draft went. We had pick 1. We went with Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. Didn't even get close to Joe Burrow because we passed in the 5th round. But in round 3, we did take Josh Jacobs. A lot is hinging on Josh Jacobs because my running back core is not that deep. I do have DeAndre Swift at pick 72. I'm very happy about that. I think that kind of saves me. But I also have Jameson Williams and Courtland Sutton. Would happily trade one for Joe Burrow in hindsight. You live and you learn. At the 7, in round 7, we took Jordan Addison, a faller. We also took Travis Kelce and Jaden Higgins in the 8-9 turn. And in the 10-11 turn, went with J.J. McCarthy and C.J. Stroud because I just needed quarterback, and those two players do stack up. Let's hope for the best. And then my running back 3 is Dylan Sampson. My running back 4 is Austin Eckler. There was a big run on running back right before that pick. And then I also took Geno Smith as the quarterback 3. Happy to get him at a value. I think he's, based on all the other quarterbacks going above him, one of the cheapest price, still decent options you can find. And then Jerome Ford to kind of pair with Dylan Sampson as just like a full contradiction that Quinshon Judkins has any value. And then Terrence Ferguson because the clock was expiring and I knew I wanted him. And then Jalen Royals to take a real big swing, hoping for the best. But I think I'm done at 7 receivers on this team. I could grab a 6th running back, but Travis Kelce, Terrence Ferguson kind of might need another one. Theo Johnson, I'm kind of interested in. Ben Sinnott, also kind of interested. Who knows if Taysom Hill has any value, but I'm probably not going to take him. And then running back, if anything, would kind of need someone to pop in the end of the season. I think this Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford will carry me in the early part of the year. I think with Jacobs and Swift, I'm willing to kind of stop at 5. There's no one that is super, super elite. I mean, there's a shot that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's relevant, but maybe not. Kareem Hunt, kind of an early season. Oh, shit. I'm going to go Ben Sinnott. We're on the clock. If Ben Sinnott turns into Zach Ertz, then we could be getting 7 touchdowns from Ben Sinnott, like we saw from Ertz last year. And 2 years ago, Ertz was cut by the Cardinals in week 6. And you know who filled his shoes? Trey McBride. You know where Trey McBride was drafted? 2nd round. You know who was drafted also 2nd round 2 years ago? Ben Sinnott. Ben Sinnott was highly drafted last year, going in the 14th round last year. These days, completely undrafted. So let's take a gamble. I'm betting on a rookie tight end. Let's bet on a year 2 tight end with a 35-year-old veteran above him. So, yeah, I need these late round swings to really pop for this team to have any chance. The quarterback just doesn't make me feel really confident. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's the combo I need. Maybe Stroud does pop off. Maybe Geno does play well. And who knows? Maybe J.J. McCarthy is even better than Sam Darnold. Let's hope for the best with this team. Lions going to get a lot of rest this season. That's interesting. Good to know, Jamie. I'll remember that. I think I do have them winning that game. All right. That's going to be it for this live stream. I think I'm going to call it after that showing in Best Ball Mania. Hopefully it goes well. Kind of wish I had Joe Burrow, though. Anyways, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you had fun, I'm glad you're with me. And thank you for the likes. We got 20 likes on this video. Appreciate it. Hope to see you guys on the next one. And had a little bit of difficulty recording some receiver rankings videos the last several days. I don't think that's going to be a problem going forward. And those should be edited and available sometime this week. I got the top 25 as a 2-parter already recorded as of today. So we'll work on that and get back to you with some other rankings vids. And then hopefully on Tuesday, I'll be back on the live stream in the evening. But hope you have a good night. Peace out. Enjoy your Sunday. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.